So, all right, let's get into the meat of this. You've taken all of this data over the period of time, and you were, not to use a term that's been overused, how is this like, or is it big data and the use of big data?
Yeah, absolutely, Bob. I think this is what we do here is the definition of big data. We within our company, there's no other resource out there that has the amount of data that we have in the construction, ag, truck industry, even the aviation industry. Today, there's about $140 billion worth of transactional data that we collect annually. Within that data, it's spread across the several markets that we talked about across ag, construction, and truck. But at the end of the day, today's market is a data-driven world, right? And data is very powerful. So we've taken a look at this data and converted it into usable tools and different things that support our industry.
And typically, when you think of big data, do you even have people that are called data scientists, such a thing?
Yeah, so we've got a substantial data science team out there. We've got about 34 people that are in our data science department today, and they really dig into all the data that we have and find the uniqueness of it and organize that data. But even beyond the data science out there, which is the backbone of our business when it comes to managing the data, there's a lot of things we have to do to get the data right. So I guess I would use an example of like a Caterpillar 420 backhoe. If you have a Cat 420 backhoe out there, one can be worth 30,000, one can be worth 60,000, and that could be across the same year, make, and model, right? The difference is that if we looked at the same year, make, model, and hours, but we look at the components of how that asset is equipped, that takes a lot of in-depth research and cleansing of the data to really mark those things out. So if it had a cab, four-wheel drive, extend a hoe, maybe a quick coupler on the end of the hoe, and maybe a quick coupler on the front of the bucket. Those are all big value adds that we go and cleanse that data out. Something like that could be worth $60,000 on a particular example. That same unit that is bare bones with an open cab, two-wheel drive, no extend a hoe, no couplers, things like that, that could be worth 30,000. So we really looked at that, and that was one of the real disruption points that we had out there in the industry, and said we really need to cleanse that. My intentions when we started this was not to get into a massive amount of people to cleanse the data, but I think we're there today. In fact, we have about 198 people that cleanse data for us today. So it's a constant job of them looking at images and determining what it is, combing through descriptions, and then organizing all that data into a systematic approach that we can use that to identify these. Not only that, once that data is cleansed, our data science department really digs into that and looks at some real world economics out there. So it could be, a lot of it today is supply driven. We have great access into demand because we host the largest websites in the market industry. We can see heat across the marketplace on who and when they're searching for particular products. Is a certain region searching for combines more or less than the last month? We've got real insight into that. Also, there's location that's involved. Once we've cleansed the data, kind of ran it through data science that looks at the economics of it, and then we apply location. An asset that is for sale in Washington State is much different than an asset sold in Nebraska today. It may not be a huge variation of movement, but certainly location on where they're selling have different economics across it. So we've ran our data through a lot of different location scenarios, and every location would create a different value.
So, with that in mind, are you really able? So, you've got all the historical data, and now I've got a data science department. How are they able to take that, or are they able to take that and forecast out into the future? And how far are they comfortable, if they are, in forecasting?
We're working on forecasting further than we are today, but today we're comfortable with 1 year into the future in terms of forecasting, which is done via our Value Insight Portal, which is our VIP tool. So we were just at the ELFA meeting, and we get a lot of questions on how far can we forecast out. We're testing that, but there's a lot of momentum changers, and that's really where our data science department comes in, and they look at the economics of things like inflation, things like interest rates, the amount of assets on the ground, foreign relationships, election years. There's a lot of different things that we can formalize with an effect of that. And in reality, Bob, looking at $140 billion of data year over year, historically speaking, that gives us a heck of a lot of insight into what the market, how it reacted when certain things were inserted into the market. For instance, election year or something like that, we can kind of tell where that's at. End of year, we can see people trying to really buy and sell assets to get rid of those, take some tax advantages and stuff for the end of the year. So there's cyclical natures and a lot of different factors that we can pull out with that. So
Fascinating, fascinating. Well, good. We're going to get into the next section here. We're going to talk a little bit about risk and risk management for the leasing industry. So y'all come back to watch the next section.